doesn't have the affluence to sit at home and eat bonbons and have servants tend to her whales. Am I making sense here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Solomon would be used to princesses and queens, right, that were groomed in this manner and would show off their affluence with their paleness. So again, if we look at Yul Brynner and Gina Lollobrigida, she would not be considered very lovely, being very dark-skinned as she was. Okay? We look at Gina Lollobrigida in that movie and we say, wow, what a number. But back then, she would be considered, because she must work outside. Why is she so dark? You see what I'm saying? Now, that's what she's wondering. Why does my beloved care about me? What is attracting him to me? I am dark, but comely, like the tents of Kedar, the curtains of Solomon. Do not gaze at me because I am swarthy, because the sun has scorched me. So she's admitting how she's very suntanned, okay? And explains why. She has brothers and sisters, at least brothers, and they made her work in the vineyards with the rest of the family, okay? And so, tell me, you whom my soul loves, where do you pasture your flock? Where do you make it lie down at noon? She wants to know, where is your harem? Because the sheep are what color?
White.
White, light. You see that? She wants to be a part of his pasture. This is an allegory. But how am I going to fit in with all of these groomed ladies, light-skinned because they're not in, and I'm so dark? You see that? So this is somewhat, if again we assume that this is Solomon and some woman in Israel, she's not aristocratic. She's not from the aristocracy. If anything, she's from the common folk. So if you will, the king is in love or is falling in love with a commoner. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, by analogy, God is king of the universe. Jesus is the King of kings and the Lord of lords. Do we have any of that royal blood in us? No. But he has come down and loves us. And as it says in your commentary, I am dark but comely. Do not gaze at me because I'm swarthy. What is the analogy or the allegory to this understanding, this suntannedness? Sin. Yes. Why does God love me? I'm so sinful. That's the equivalent here. Do you see that? And like in some of your translations, I'm black with sin. Why does he love me? Okay? So the darkness, the effects of the world, if you will, have stained the soul dark. So what would God have to do with me, essentially? And the answer is, quite honestly, it's because he loves you. He doesn't look at that. He sees beyond it. Solomon loves her. He doesn't see the darkness, the lowliness, the class that she's in. He loves her. That's what we're going to see as we get through this. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So this adds that level to it. If we look at the literal level, this is King Solomon falling in love with a day worker, if you will, in the fields, in the vineyards of his realm. He saw her probably dressing the vines and fell in love with her, even though she's very suntanned, even though she's of a lower class. That's what that means on a literal level. Okay? In an allegorical level, the suntannedness is the level of sin that's covered our soul. What would God have? What does he see in me? That's the cry of the soul. Okay?
No.
Yes.
Well, don't you think that maybe she was an interesting person, that she was smart and clever, that she'd have to have other assets besides her looks, would she not?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I would think that she would be an interesting person.
Oh.
That she would be clever and maybe smart, and for him, she would have to have other traits besides being lovely and dark.
Right. Yes.
I would think. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a very good point. He saw something more in her than just simply physical beauty. Although that is a quality that we're going to see that he admires in her. She has physical beauty. She doesn't see it because she's buying into the beauty levels of her day and age. I'm dark. That's not beautiful. He doesn't see that. He sees her as very beautiful, both physically and what she brings. She has a moral quality that we are going to be seeing in here, right? That's what makes her beautiful to Solomon. Good point, Martha. Okay. Now, so she does this sort of self-deprecation, and then verse 8. He says, why should I be like the one who wanders beside the flock of your companions? Then the girlfriends chime in. If you do not know, O fairest among women, did you notice that? The girlfriends are realizing that she may think herself as dark and comely, but the girlfriends are recognizing because the king loves her, she's the fairest of all women. Follow in the tracks of the flock and pasture your kids beside the shepherd's tent. Okay? So this gives us an idea that she not only is a vine dresser, but that she's also a shepherdess herself. Now comes the lover. The lover chimes in. Now watch what he says. I compare you, my love, to a mare in Pharaoh's chariots. Your cheeks are comely with ornaments, your neck with strings of jewels. We will make you ornaments of gold, studded with silver. Okay? So though she's of a lower class, he's showering her with these gifts that will accentuate her beauty. Gold, silver against darkened skin look a lot more bright and lovely. In other words, he's saying, I'm going to adorn you. I love you. And I'm going to accentuate your beauty. I love you. Does that make sense? And by analogy, he's saying, your sin is going to be overshined by the graces that I give you. My grace is greater than your sin. You will shine forth despite your sins because of all the grace and the gifts I bestow upon you. Does that make sense? And is this far-fetched? No. I brought this verse up before, but it's always good to bring it back. This idea of gold and jewels as part of our adornment, if you will, part of our wedding dress that we are making. Yes, remember that from Revelation? Turn to 1 Corinthians 3. 1 Corinthians 3. To give you this idea that the use of gold and jewels to accentuate our beauty despite our sin is a grace of God. I want you to see how this is used in the New Testament. This is St. Paul speaking to the Corinthians. He says, according to the commission of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and another man is building upon it. Let each man take care how he builds upon it. For no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Paul is describing the spiritual growth of a person, personal spiritual growth, in terms of someone building a house. And he says, you can't build this spiritual life unless you start with Jesus Christ. Okay? So if you want to build a good house, the foundation in which you're going to build your house is Jesus. You can't build otherwise. But he says others build on it, right? Now, if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, so what can you build on this in building a house? Okay, you're building a house. Got it? And what can you build? You can use gold, silver, precious stones. Okay, that's a good thing to build a house upon, right? It's going to be beautiful. A golden house. I like that. What else does he say? Wood, hay, straw. So we have wood, hay, and straw. Well, I remember the story of the 3 little pigs. I know where this is going, right? Who was the smart pig? The one to build with bricks. What about the one with sticks and straw? Bye-bye. So you see kind of where Paul is going with this? Guess what happens? So, you're building your spiritual life. You can't build on anything else except Jesus Christ. That's the basics. What do you build from that? Well, gold, silver, precious stones, and then wood, hay, and straw maybe mixed in there somewhere. Okay? You getting the analogy? So a house is half straw, half sticks, half gold, and half silver, something like that. You know what I mean? A little mix of everything. What happens? Verse 13, each man's work will be made manifest, for the day will disclose it, because it will be revealed with fire. So once you've built this house, it's going to go through the flames. All right? And the fire will test what sort of work each one has done. If the work which any man has built on the foundation survives, he will receive a reward. If any man's work is burnt up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. By the way, this is a very good verse to talk about the realities of purgatory. This is what purgatory does. It takes the soul, the life of a person, and passes it through the fire of God's holiness. If one's life is nothing but living for one's self, that's wood, hay, and straw. And when you pass it through the holiness of God, guess what? That's that. Nothing. Nothing. But if one has built one's life on love, love for God, love for one another, that's gold, silver, and precious stones. That's the treasure you lay up in heaven that Jesus is talking about in his great sermon. Don't lay for yourself up treasures here on earth, where moth and rust and thief can corrupt. But lay for yourselves what? Treasures in heaven, where neither rust nor moth nor thief can destroy. This is what Jesus is talking about. The love, the charity, the goodness in your heart, the spiritual and corporal works of mercy that you pour out to others. This is the gold, silver, and precious stones of your life. And when that passes through God's holiness, guess what? It gets brighter. It gets better. It is purged and cleansed, and it is even more glory to God. Does that make sense? That's the purpose of purgatory. And as Paul says, you will still be saved even if all you have is nothing in your life. Your soul will be saved, but it's as if you've passed through fire. You want to be that person, right? You want to be someone to show to God that your life was given out of love for Him and His church. That you build or you mend your wedding dress with the good and righteous deeds of the saints. That's the gold, silver, and stones. And that is what the king is talking about, the lover is talking about. Your cheeks are comely with ornaments, your neck a string of jewels. I will make you ornaments of gold studded with silver. Gold, silver, precious stones. You see that? These are the good graces God gives us that despite our sinfulness shine forth and build up the beauty that releases, if you will, the beauty that's within, that He's created us to be. Am I making sense?
Yes.
You see what we're talking about here? Okay. Now, in terms of the literal, this is His love showering her with gifts. Gold and jewels to make her look beautiful. Okay? He's a king, He can afford it. Right? So He takes someone whom He loves and just showers her with these gifts to make her even more beautiful. Now, the beloved speaks. While the king was on his couch, my nard gave forth its fragrance. My beloved